we're going to be exploring two ghost towns that are pretty close to each other. This is actually a revisit. The last video I did for this place, we were actually riding our bikes around. But we're not going to do that today, only because I need a more thorough explore. So the difference with this one is now we have the aid of LIDAR technology, and I was able to obtain LIDAR maps of this ghost town and the one that's 1.6 miles away from here. So right now I am in what used to be the town of Harrisville, and what I'll be doing throughout this video is I'll be showing that LIDAR map to you, and there's a couple points of interest that I'll be checking out because of the LIDAR map. Here we have regular Google Earth of the Harrisville ghost town area, and right here are where the paper mill ruins are. Now, no matter what time I change this to, the pine trees distort a lot of the ground. But if I turn the LIDAR on, and I imported LIDAR maps for this area, it gives you a better view of the ground. So you can see cellar depression here, a cellar depression here. What I found interesting about the paper mill is the shape of the mill race. So if I zoom out a little bit, here is Harrisville Pond, and the mill race is like a rectangle. It goes this way and down and then over to the paper mill ruins. The things I'll be checking out in this explore are these two cellar depressions down here, these depressions over here within the mill race, this depression over here, and of course, you know, this portion will just be about Harrisville. We'll get to Martha's Furnace in a little bit. But just to know where, just to let you know where I'm currently at. So I pulled off of 679, and these roads right here, like Perimeter Road, Bodine Field Road, they're all dirt trails, but you can drive on them. So I pulled off of Chatsworth Road into the Harrisville paper mill ruins area, and I'm parked just above these two depressions here. So I'm like somewhere around here. But just to give you a view where I'm currently at, and I'm going to make my way to the paper mill ruins that are over here. But for now, I want to show you the paper mill ruins are over this way, and we'll get there in a minute. But this is a cellar hole. Look how gorgeous that is. So I'm not exactly sure if this was a house that was here or if it was some sort of storage, but there is what appears to be another one over here. And because of the LIDAR, there should be something across well, I should almost said street, but that's a dirt road. And that dirt road actually leads to a primitive campground down the road. But yeah, this is another cellar hole depression. It's just about square. Danny's over there walking around, and he just pointed to something. What's up, bud? Oh, the tree. There's some bricks here. That is pretty cool, huh, buddy? Oh, okay, there's a tree growing out of a tree. Alright, so I'm gonna work my way across the dirt road here because we have this large depression, and I'm pretty sure that's what I saw in the LIDAR technology or LIDAR map. There should be something over here. And there is. How about that? Yep. There's stonework here, and I'm standing in now what used to be the cellar of whatever was here. I'm in the depression now. See, and I didn't know this was here. So what was Harrisville? So Harrisville was a town. It had the paper mill, which was right over there. It had a sawmill, it had a grist mill, even had a school, which also served as a church on Sundays. So as I make my way towards the paper mill ruins over here, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more history about Harrisville. So Isaac Potts, the original landowner, was an ironmaster who had built Martha's Furnace, which is less than 2 miles away from here. He named the town after his wife, Martha Bolton. Martha's Furnace was a town that had nearly 400 people living in it. Potts then sold his holdings in the 1700s after his wife passed away. Ownership of the land passed through several hands before the entrepreneur named William McCarty, a few of his partners, ultimately purchased the land in 1832. The land had a forge and a slitting mill, but McCarty had other plans as the iron industry was abundant and too competitive. And there's a piece of a ruin right there. The paper mill ruins are becoming on our right side. So shortly after the paper mill was built, and there they are. He named this town McCartyville. He erected the paper mill as the paper making industry was just beginning to boom. So one interesting fact about this stone is that it doesn't seem to be native. So some people believe that this stone was floated down the river to construct this paper mill. Is that once this paper mill caught fire, it actually caught fire twice, but the second one was the devastating blow. Actually, it had caught fire and people realized it was abandoned, that it could no longer be used. A type of vandalism back then was to take it apart. Some people needed the stone for their own usage, their own purposes, so they came here and they started picking apart the remains of the paper mill. That's why it looks to be like it is now. So the first fire was in 1846, but the owners decided to rebuild and continue the papermaking era. It wasn't until 1914 where this area had a huge forest fire, and that's actually what took most of the paper mill. That was its final demise. I'd like to read an excerpt from a newspaper that will tell you the type of vandalism that happened here maybe about 10-15 years after that fire. So let me read that excerpt. So according to the Morning Post article dated May 25th, 1932, so many stones have been removed from the ruins of the deserted paper mill that owners of the Wharton estate have posted notices forbidding the practice. So they tried stopping the vandalism of this paper mill. Now, another interesting feature that the LIDAR map showed was the shape of the mill race. I was actually kind of surprised with that one. The mill race came from Harrisville Pond over to this paper mill, and my initial assumption was that it was a straight run. No, it's in shape of a side square, like a side rectangle. And the mill race is right along here. That's my son. So this here, this depression that you see, is the mill race. So we are about in this spot right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to make our way across the street to check out these depressions here. So I'm in a different area of Harrisville Ghost Town. So this is the mill race that leads towards the Harrisville paper mill ruins, and I just find it interesting. It's in shape of a long rectangle and not direct. So I'm wondering if they designed it this way for momentum, for water to gain some momentum along the way. Here are more remnants of Harrisville Ghost Town. And there's a plaque I'm going to check out real quick. Oh wow. Very cool. So yeah, this is actually pretty cool. I had to have Danny come over this way so that his big head will be in the way in a minute. Hi, Danny. But there is more depressions over here. This is a very large depression right here. So here's that plaque. It's a memorial. That's sad. So there also seems to be cellar holes over this way too. There's one here, and there was one right where I came in somewhere too. So I'm in the one cellar depression, and notice that yes, it is man-made. There's a portion of the wall. Here's a brick. There's a couple stones strewn throughout. It looks like there's another. Nope. We're gonna check out another couple points of interest, and I'm going to be making a right on Calico Road. Right here. If I were to keep going straight, I'd be staying on Martha's. So actually, I'm not going to go far on this road. I'm only going to go a little bit, and then I'm going to hike the remainder of the way. Alright, so now I parked the car only because this portion of Calico Road is really soft sand, and I'm not going to chance it with an SUV that does not have four-wheel drive. Danny. I mean, it's not really that far anyway. So what I'm doing now is with the LIDAR, I saw two depressions. Oh yeah, this is really soft. It's like beach sand. Two depressions. And usually with something like that, it's man-made. So I'm just gonna go over, check that out. Danny's on. He's looking for pine sap. Now what's also interesting with this LIDAR imaging is that it does show lines throughout the not the roads, but it shows lines going through the forest. I don't know if they were the original town roads, but we're about to go on one of those lines now, because those depressions were right next to that line. Right here. Oh, okay. So actually looks like a little gully. So maybe it's just for water drainage. So this is what the LIDAR was picking up right here. Somewhat of a depression here. And here, Danny's heading up this way. I'm not seeing anything now. So now we're continuing down Martha's Road, and we're gonna arrive at Martha's Furnace site soon.
Follow the sandy road.
So here are the paper mill ruins here. We just got done visiting these two depressions just off of this portion of Calico Road there. So we go back to Martha Road, and now we're traveling down Martha Road, and we're gonna head 1.6 miles away to Martha's Furnace area. Now there's a couple points of interest that Danny and I check out. One of them being, if you notice here, there is a long rectangle shape that looks like it could be man-made. Now if I take the LIDAR off, you can see a little bit of it. If I turn it back on, it seems that there is more of it. Now, out of sheer curiosity, I hiked down Calico Road because I wanted to see the cranberry bogs over here, but they are private property and they are active. I was initially under the impression that they were old cranberry bogs, but they're not. They're still active. Another note I'd like to make is that there's this drainage ditch that goes along the cranberry bogs, and it drains out here. Now you can see where it drains out because it created a little pit in the pond area there. So it seems that it's still actively draining. Just think that hundreds of people lived here at one time. And if you notice this area right here, that looks like a little quarry area. Like sediment was moved around. But you can see little stuff like the grid pattern going on here. I'm not sure entirely why it's like that, and even if we change the date, you really can't see much of that. And turn the LIDAR back on. So yeah, Martha's Furnace is located over here. It's behind a fenced area. It is a large dirt mound. It doesn't appear anything's left, but I do believe once they excavated the furnace that they did rebury it to protect it. That is according to one of the articles I read. Danny's continuing his prepping for backpacking when we do go. We decided to walk the rest of the way. It's like a quarter mile, even less now. Only because the trail and that wind. Hold on. Here we go. The trail got super soft again, so we're walking it this time. Alright, so behind that fence line is Martha's Furnace. Back in the 60s, I believe, an archaeologist by the name of Bud Wilson. He's actually done a lot of research of the history of the Pinelands. Hi! And you can... What is it? Martha's over there. It's buried. Hi. So this is what they call the witch's tree, and it's a dead tree with a hole in it, and people sometimes put offerings in there. Daddy knows to respect. So there is some carvings on it. The last time we actually peeked in here is a picture. But yeah, there's some offerings. Well, anyway, Martha's Furnace is located right there. And as I was saying with Bud Wilson, is there's some stuff on YouTube where people have done interviews with Bud Wilson, and it's fascinating because this man is just full of knowledge. And I don't know if he's still around, but I would love to interview or have an interview with him, because he's just so wealthy with the knowledge of the history, a lot of the history of the ghost towns that were in the Pinelands. One of the things the LIDAR showed is there's an area over here that looks squared, and I wasn't quite sure what that was, but when I zoomed out a little bit, it kind of looks like it could have been old bogs. Let's see what we can find. All right. Look at how beautiful this is. All right, so we are in the general area now. I'm not seeing anything real defining like I was seeing on a LIDAR. Other than this patch of regular normal bog stuff. But I'm curious because it actually looks like it could have been some sort of bog, and my guess is that it was an iron bog. But we're gonna head back to Martha's Furnace and check it out. A couple more points of interest. All right, so walking around this raised trail here, which is very man-made, and we started heading down and noticed that there's a whole bunch of slag. There's big pieces of slag right here that are pretty embedded. The ground is still frozen, so these are going to be pretty hard to remove. Yeah, that's all slag. Whoa. Pretty blue slag too. Mm. Here's a dark one. I wonder if this... It's probably all over the place here. So there is another point of interest I'll be checking out. Now there are cranberry bogs up here. What I don't know is if they were originally iron bogs turned cranberry bogs. But so I'm basically alone right now. Danny headed back to the vehicle where Bob's at, and yeah, it's actually a nice little hike. So that cranberry bog must be a pretty large operation, because you see in front of me here is normally what you see in the Pine Barrens, but behind me it's the Pine Barrens with a big clearing in the background, and I can't get over to it. Oh yeah. So just imagine like 400 people living in this area. It's hard to believe. I mean, mainly all that's left are cellar holes and slag here and there from the iron ore production area, smelting era. That Bob? Alright, Mr. Creepy. Said, alright, Mr. Creepy. I didn't expect you to be right there. I didn't expect you to be right there. I'm expecting to hike a mile back. Hey, you drive up here? Maybe you got bored. I think you got bored. I've been out for a while. Oh my god, he did. Okay. Yeah, I was just here. Hi, Bob. Hi, Danny. That was actually a treat, because I was expected to walk another mile and a half back that way. So you Katie did fine?
Yeah.
Alright. Alrighty. So just to give you another glimpse, this is where the paper mills are located, and I just turned on the LIDAR for below the paper mill ruins down to the primitive campground, and as you can see, there's really nothing sticking out other than this area where it looks like it could have been quarried a little bit. So here is the paper mill area. We checked out those depressions. Here is the depressions that Danny and I checked out. We traveled down Martha Road. And here is where Martha's furnace is located. And I traveled down this portion of Calico Road to probably right about here is where I got to before I turned around. It started working my way back to Cuts Road, and at intersection there, it's gated off on both sides, and that's where I meet back up with Bob. And then we also checked out this over here to what I believe may be old iron bogs. I'm not sure. So know that this isn't our first time visiting this area, and we have actually visited a couple Pine Barren ghost towns in the past. So if you want, you can check out the playlist right here, and see you then.